Where's our Minio and Sapio? Sausage, peppers, onions, ketchup. Nice roll. Good morning, welcome to Inside High School Sports. I'm your host, Tony Caligiuri. Frank Wolf, he's taking the morning off, getting some rest. Tom Prince and Francis Beck, WNY Athletics. They're here, along with our resident troublemaker, Roger Weiss. Good morning, guys.
Morning, y'all.
Ah, there we go. That's the only way to start a Saturday morning, with a good old morning, y'all. Shout out to James Rodriguez, old buddy of mine who I ran into at a football game recently. Former neighbor and former colleague at North Buffalo Little League football. So shout out to James.
J-Rod?
Yeah, okay, we can say that. Why not? Let's see, guys, news and notes. Francis, you have won the toss. You have elected to receive.
All right, we're going to start with my Ken Maurice Bulldogs. The Lou Reuter Memorial Scholarship Run is going to be Sunday, October 14th. Cost is $20. It's going to be 10 a.m. start. You can sign up. There's also a race run walk, $20. Head to runisgroup.com.
Are you running?
No, I'm past my prime.
Yeah. Past his prime. You hear
I'm
that,
retired.
Raj?
He's so old.
I know, he's put
I
right there with
retired.
Marquell.
I mean, I was just gonna say, if he's old, what does that make Marquell?
Hey, June 2016, I retired.
Okay.
You know, Francis, this sounds like one of these bets coming up. This could be a nice little bet here coming up.
Frank just makes all these bets up. He just says things. I have no idea what he's talking about. And then another event at Buffalo State College next week. The football team is having their first ever game under the lights at Coyer Field, and Buffalo State's going to celebrate. They're going to have a first ever all alumni reunion beforehand at the new Alumni Center at 3:30 p.m.
Oh, maybe Johnny Augustine and Ken Kaz will be there.
The cost is $10 a person for football alumni, includes a game ticket, Juvers, and a cash bar. That's followed, of course, by the game at 6 p.m. Contact the Buffalo State Alumni Office or Tom Kohler of Buffalo State Athletics.
Did Nate
I'll
Geary
be-
play quarterback for Buff State?
Who's that?
Nate Geary. Our Purdue
I think so.
personality here.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I'll take your word for it. I really don't know.
You should take my word for it.
Yes, that'll be a big event. They're very excited about that. I'll be there up in the press box covering the game for the record. So if you're looking for some Saturday night, so if you're looking for some Saturday night football, check out that next week, 6 o'clock, Coyer Field.
Cool. Definitely. Raj, what do you have there?
Just for the record, he did not win the toss. I won the toss and elected to defer.
Oh, okay.
Thank
So
you.
defer.
Funny you should mention the record. Are you talking about the publication at
Yeah.
Buff State?
Yeah,
Yeah.
newspaper.
Well, take a wild guess at who got his start in photography at the record at Buff State.
Let me guess. Does he shoot photographs for the Buffalo News?
Bingo.
Did he play high school football at Springville?
Bingo.
Would his name be Harry Skull Jr.?
Yahtzee.
I win.
Yeah, I want to thank the people at Springville High School and also those on the committee for the Glenn Pop Warner Annual Hall of Fame induction. I got to the game early enough last night. The carpet they have that goes over the track, they got a brand new artificial track around the football field. So if the football players' spikes don't
Right,
dig into
yeah.
it and all that. I looked at the young lady and I said, that carpet doesn't appear to be red. Where's my red carpet? She says, oh, it's red. I says, ma'am, I just had cataract surgery. It's not red. Well, it's probably black cherry, black raspberry in the sun. So, that's what I'm guessing. That would be
Raj,
the,
never argue with women over color.
that was the superintendent. Her name is Kim Moritz. Treated me very well.
Cool.
And also at the induction afterwards, a shout out to Kathy Krazmian. She was more or less the coordinator of that whole ceremony. along with Harry Skull. And by the way, he played quarterback, linebacker, place kicker, punter. His 4 years, 2 on JV and 2 on varsity, 29-3.
Wow.
That's not too shabby.
No.
And I would be remiss if I didn't also give a shout out from the class of '82 to Ann McMahon Johnston, 3-sport athlete, was inducted, as well as from the class of 1990, Mark Vasiluskas. So congratulations to those 3 SGA grads and to their induction into the Pop Warner Hall of Fame. And
Outstanding.
thank you, everybody there last night. It made my night just grateful.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Tom Prince, I understand that you have some like amazing news that you're about to drop on us. Let me get the popcorn out.
Should we zoom
Let
in
me
the-
Get ready for this one. Fasten your seatbelts. This is pretty big.
All right, so first of all, let me just piggyback and say congratulations, Harry. That's awesome, very well deserved. Couldn't happen for a nicer guy, so congratulations to Harry. One quick announcement before I get to it. I also have a pancake breakfast to announce.
I don't see any pancakes.
Yeah, I wish it was here right now. But the Orchard Park varsity football team will be having their own pancake breakfast at Applebee's on Union Road in West Seneca. Cost is $6, and the date is October 14th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And the actual, the players will be serving the breakfast also. So you get a chance to, hey, have an Orchard Park player serve you? Come on,
Pretty neat.
right?
As long as you
Yeah.
don't get a receiver who has a tendency to drop passes.
And then you can
Contact
contact
my Dutch baby.
anyone interested can contact Lisa Sharp, 716-228-1632 if you want to get tickets to that. And
October 14th, that's a Sunday, I believe.
Yes. You're
So-
quick, Raj.
So there you go.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. If you think I'm quick, that doesn't bode well for you.
All right, Tom.
All
Here we
right,
go.
so
Drum roll.
here's the 2 big announcements. One, everybody knows that I've been doing this now for a little bit with baseball to recognize as many student athletes that we can in the baseball community. I've been doing it now for a while, and it's time to take it to the next level. But as we do that, we also need to honor some of our past that help us get to where we are.
Right.
So the 2 people we're gonna be talking about honoring today, the first one is Don Colpoys. A lot of you may know as the former baseball coach at Canisius College from 1977 to 2001. Also holding the school record for 325 wins. He retired in 2001. His best season at Canisius came in 1994 when the Blue and Gold posted 28 wins and secured the first MAC regular season championship. Don Colpoys has done a lot in this community as
Oh,
far as baseball
absolutely.
goes. He's been a part of the Western New York Baseball Hall of Fame. He's been part of all-star games in the past. He has been a staple here in Western New York.
Also instrumental in helping bring professional baseball back
Yep.
to Western New York after their hiatus in the 70s.
And he was a general manager with the Bisons
Yes,
from
he was.
1979 to 1984.
I didn't know that.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
So the first band you're gonna hear me talk about in a second. The second one, a lot of you may know the name Bob Barrows, former Orchard Park head
Yes.
coach. He right now is he is the leading record holder in wins in Section 6. Listen to this record. Bob compiled a 643 and 242 career record at Orchard Park and led the school to 7 Section 6 championships and 1 New York State title in 1998. So over a 39-year head coaching career.
It's amazing.
And then he was actually inducted into multiple Hall of Fames, from Timon to Orchard Park to the Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, and also the Western New York Baseball Hall of Fame. Here's what I think. I had talked to Don Colpoy's son, Don, right, same name, Junior.
Excuse me, Tom, for those of you listening who are not familiar, both of these gentlemen are now at that grandstand up in the sky. They are no longer with us.
Absolutely, and I will tell you, here's one of the best stories I heard. These 2 were also lifelong friends. In other words, Don even called them best friends. He said they'd be on the phone every single night talking baseball, talking everything it was about baseball, and you couldn't get them to stop. Well, here's the announcement. We will announce the first ever Colpoys Barrows Cup, which will mimic what the Conley Cup does for football, we will now be doing for baseball. So we have a Player of the Year now for baseball, where we will honor athletes every single week, and then also have a dinner to with the final 10. We will be bringing them in for a Player of the Year for the Colpoys Barrows Cup.
I love it.
So
Absolutely
it is,
love it. Great job, Tom.
so very, very excited about that. That's the first announcement. The second announcement, we would like to currently honor our #1 wins coach in Western New York, who is currently right now, as far as currently still coaching, so as much wins as currently coaching, who just eclipsed the 600 win mark. That is Chuck Sen Sr., who just eclipsed 600 wins himself this past year. We are going to hold the Sen Senior All-Star Game for seniors at the end of the year also, where on one side of the field will be Chuck Sen Sr., on the other side of the field will be Chuck Sen Jr.
I like that.
So it's junior senior game.
Yeah, another way to look at it, right? So,
Juniors rule.
so we will now have the opportunity for the seniors to get one more game in after the state championship, and we'll be able to honor seniors in a game where we could also honor right now our winningest coach, currently active winningest coach in Section 6.
Tom, quick question on that. Are you, for the date of that game, are you under the same restrictions? For example, when we have a senior game in basketball, we have to have it by a certain date.
Yeah, we've got to get it done before the school's out.
It's, okay, so you're under that same
Yep.
guideline. Okay, thank you, because I would hopefully, and Frank wants me to do it, I don't know if it's feasible. I'd like to do something similar to that for the girls softball.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But at least not only are we going to now recognize more student athletes than we ever have in baseball, we're also going to honor some of our past and current coaches that have got us here along the way.
That's outstanding. Now, we're gonna do announcements every week on the show. We're gonna post them online, things like that.
We'll do the same thing, very similar. Like I said, I want this to be very similar to what you see with the Conley Cup, right? We'll have various people that'll be honored each single week. Could be 10. I mean, usually you see with the Conley Cup, it's for the most part about 10. Sometimes it gets a little bit more if this happens to be one of those weeks. Hey, we saw it the way the season starts out for baseball. There was how many perfect games, how many no-hitters that came out of the gates early on. There may be multiple reasons to recognize somebody, and then they will be put into that announcement from week 1 all the way till the time we hit the playoffs.
That's so cool. Great job. Let's see, next Friday, October 5th, at 6 p.m. at Lewiston 2 Fire Hall at 1705 Saunders Settlement Road, Niagara Falls Junior Football Club will be conducting its meat raffle. This is the big fundraiser of the year. It's a lot of fun. If you've ever been to a meat raffle, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of great packages there that you can bid on. Doors open at 6 o'clock. The raffle starts at 7. That's at Lewiston number 2 Fire Hall, 1705 Saunders Settlement Road. So head on over there. Go to nfjfc.com for more information on the 2018 meat raffle. We'd love to see you there and help support Niagara Falls Junior Football. All right, guys, let's get into the scores from this week. We'll start off with Thursday night, Bennett beating Lancaster 42-35. Hutch Tech over Lockport 54-34. Canisius beating St. Joe's 34-28. Eden/North Collins 22. Tonawanda 20. Albion 28. Springville 14. Newfane 35. Alden 8. It was Akron 27. Roy Hart 18. Maple Grove over Gowanda Pine Valley 16-8. Randolph/Frewsburg defeating Allegheny Limestone 50-20. Chautauqua Lake 39, Portville 21. Salamanca 14, Cattaraugus Little Valley 6. Southwestern 50, Olean 20. Pioneer 63, Newport 7. Amherst blanking Frontier 20-0. West Seneca West 40, Jamestown 14. Niagara Wheatfield got by Kenmore West 28-21. Ken East 26, Sweet Home 12. Star Point 62, Will South 33. Maryville blanking Lakeshore 62-0. East Aurora / Holland beats Iroquois 16-7. Dunkirk over Hamburg 30-6. Clymer Sherman Panama 33, Depew 6. West Seneca East 15, South Park 6, and McKinley beating North Tonawanda 40-0. There are your scores from last night. Now, you got Francis and Ty. You guys were at the Depew game last night. You guys were live on WNY Athletics. What can you tell me about the game?
Well, we had a chance to see the #1 Class D ranked team in Clymer Sherman Panama, and they pretty much showed why they have the #1 ranking. A school that's almost twice the size of their bed numbers, and they really took it to Depew. Now Depew, granted, is 0-5 on the season, but they showed they really had some talent. I was impressed with Garrett Hinsdale. Of course, Derek Eklund had a strong game, wearing down on that Depew defense, and they really made a statement that they're a force to be reckoned with.
Eklund Beatman, that other, Michael Beatman, also unbelievable. It's like a two-headed monster running back they have over there, where you'll see is one will run one play and the next play is going to the other running back. Definitely, and I made a big deal of the game last night that the difference between the play to me was the line play. Clymer Sherman Panama was just, you could see from the field, you could just see the holes open up for these running backs, and they were taking every advantage of it. And then you got a quarterback like Hinsdale, who then was hitting his receivers as well as his running backs, because they used them as receivers too, in stride. It was a tough game for Depew. It really was. The only thing I thought, which I didn't like to see at the game, was it was marred by more personal foul penalties than I've probably seen in a game in a long time.
Was it players just losing their temper, or just over aggressiveness?
I think it was over aggressiveness, but I mean, it was really over aggressiveness. After the game, we heard complaints from both sides of kids doing stuff in the piles, is in essence where we heard it. Because every time there'd be a pile up, that's when you see the fight happen, right after the pile up. So something was always happening in the piles.
And unfortunately, they decided to end the game with about a minute to go, because there were some extracurriculars, and I think the officials decided, it's better to wrap things up before
Before it gets
worse.
too far out of hand.
Yeah.
I hate hearing about stuff like that. That stinks.
Especially in a non-league game when you don't have to worry about point differentials or some team trying to get over 20 or under 20. It was probably the right decision.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah,
Not a
no doubt.
rivalry game
In
either.
fact,
I don't understand.
But aside from that, though, I guess to me it would be similar than a year ago when Evil Frank, AKA Franklinville Ellicottville, came up to JFK on a Saturday afternoon and handed it to JFK. So the D schools aren't necessarily that inferior to the C or the B schools, and I guess, well, I'm sure, cheese, sausage, pepperoni are the real deal. I mean, what they did to Maple Grove early this year, 55-20, to Maple Grove, they're good.
Let's make it a statement,
They're good.
sure.
And I do notice in the Class State rankings, and you take that with a grain of salt.
Oh, I do.
But Maple Grove is the 4th ranked team in the state, and obviously CSP is #1.
No, they're quality teams down there, no doubt about it. And they came up and proved themselves. I interviewed the line after the game, and I said this was the difference, because normally when you look at a Class D school coming up to playing a Class B, size is normally the biggest difference, is what you see.
Yeah, Frank would probably be the nose tackle on
Yeah.
most of those
Right,
teams.
so you sit,
Francis, excuse me.
so you sit there and you look and said, I'm gonna look at line play. I wanna see what your line does, and I think that's gonna be the difference in the game. Because they had.
Usually is the difference in football.
Well, again, some teams can overcome it. They've got athletes to overcome it at times. Sometimes speed will overcome it.
Yeah, and
Sometimes
they
the
can
quarterback.
zone block and-
Absolutely.
Sure.
This was, no, the line is stood up and completely shut down the running game of Depew. The only way Depew had a shot is when they went to the air. Pagano actually went to the air. That's when they finally started moving the ball to Depew. Unfortunately, it was just pass, and that's when the interceptions happened.
Thursday night, I think the one game that obviously a lot of people are talking about, Bennett and Lancaster. Bennett pulling the upset, if you will, and stopping Lancaster's, how many game unbeaten streak in Section 6? I can't remember.
Gotta be the 20
something.
Yeah,
24, it was 24 or 28, right?
Yeah, it was definitely in the 20s. Coach Rupp is in third year. It's in his third year since taking over.
Well, it had to be
Yeah.
26, right, for if it's 2 years. Well, no, 13 and 9, maybe 11,
So that'd be
24.
2 years would be 20, right? And then you had 4 more, so 24.
That's right, 10 weeks after the 11th week is not Western New
Yeah.
York, excuse me.
So, I mean, a tight game, kudos to Bennett for coming out on top of that, obviously making their point, and they're putting their stamp on things that they're a team to be reckoned with. 24
And-
straight games, okay.
Yeah, and I guess 4 touchdowns were called back for Bennett by penalty.
Yeah, there were a lot of holding penalties that really held back Bennett, and I think they said Dijay Perry had probably 400 yards, and a lot of it was taken away because of holding penalties. They were justified, but that just shows the athletes of this that he is, and it shows the resiliency in a Bennett team. After taking so many penalties, to come back and be able to win it really in the final minutes of the game. And then as soon as they got that lead, their defense just came to play.
Not to
But-
mention, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Not to mention maturity. A couple of years ago, a couple touchdowns called back because of penalty and they would have lost it. So I think Steve McDuffie is doing a heck of a job, from himself right on down to all the players. Look, okay, don't worry about the last play, worry about the next play. And my hat's off to him.
And when I saw them against Clarence a couple weeks ago, that was kind of a concern. They were holding, but there was also a lot of personal fouls, which he spent a good 10, 15 minutes after that Clarence win. That was a big win too, talking to them about discipline, saying we can't do that stuff against Lancaster. They took care of the personal fouls. There were still some holdings, and they were able to come away with the win because they were able to come together at the end.
So what's that do on the grand scheme of things for Double A, Raj?
Well, as of now, they are in first place. Orchard Park, 3-0 in league standings. They play, what do they play, Will North
North,
today. Big win. Orchard Park has to run the gauntlet now. They have, their 3 wins were arguably against I hate to use the expression, 3 of the weak sisters of the league, but the less talented, in Niagara Falls, Lockport, and Hutchtek, at least in terms of win-loss record and all that. They have to run the gauntlet. Clarence has to run the table if they wanna go into the playoffs, but right now, Bennett is sitting pretty.
And how's Lancaster position? I mean,
Well, right now, they're 4-1, second place,
They have wins over Will North and Clarence, and so you have the tiebreakers in terms of Will North. I mean, it's going to come down to Orchard Park, Will North, Orchard Park proving can they stay unbeaten once they face one of those top tier teams, and then if they can, it's going to be where will the 1, 2, 3 fall.
today will be a barometer, I think, for Orchard
Yeah.
Park.
No doubt about it.
all right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the other games around Western New York. You're listening to Inside High School Sports on WGR Sports Radio 550. You're listening to Inside High School Sports. I'm your host, Tony Kellinger, along with Francis Beck and Tom Prince from WNY Athletics. Roger Weiss is here. We're talking about the games from last night. And during the break, well, before the break, Roger and you guys kind of broke down with Double A, where we are with that. Class A, holy cow. Throw up a grenade and see what happens. It's everybody's ball game, I guess. I went to Wheatfield Ken West game last night. Second game that they've played under the lights at Wheatfield. And they also had can drive night. So Nick and I brought canned goods to donate, and anybody that brought canned goods got in for free. Packed crowd. It's pretty cool to see the stands filled there, and pretty good game. I like what I saw out of both teams.
Listen, we've all talked about it. Jordan Parks is a difference maker.
Holy cow, can he run? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
You know, I mean, he really has made a difference to that team, and is the reason why they're in the mix right now. Next week's
Him
gonna-
and their defense.
you know, next week's going to be their, could be their defining moment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, them taking on West Seneca West next week is going to be a game.
West Seneca West is a monster right now. I remember, I can't remember if it was before my injury. So we were goofing around with Rich Sanders saying, how are you going to replace the seniors that have left? And he said, we'll be fine. Yeah, they are. They're doing great.
And it's
So is
gonna-
West Seneca East.
Yeah, and it's going to be important for Wheatfield to try to keep that a competitive game, because I think we were talking about, we're not sure exactly how it's going to go down, but it's going to come down to point differential in some way. And if they can keep that a close game, that's going to go well for the Falcons.
Talking about West Seneca West, how about West Seneca East? This past week in the large school polls, West Seneca West was number 1, West Seneca East was number 4. Number 2, Lancaster lost to Bennett. Number 3, South Park lost to West Seneca East. So that would probably imply that West Seneca West and West Seneca East are gonna be 1 and 2 this week.
Think about rivalry.
I was just gonna say.
Oh my God.
Oh my thunder.
The West Seneca East and West is going to be, battle of the ages. You're going to have Tonawanda. Looks like they're going to be competitive against, or could be competitive against North Tonawanda. And Kenmore East
Yes.
looks like they're going to be able to, hang in there with Kenmore West. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a fun rivalry weekend.
And
You
I'll go back to what I've been saying for years. Why are all the rivalry games on the same night? Same
Well,
week.
not all of them, because one
Most of
played
them.
last night with Canisius beating St. Joe's.
Yeah.
Okay, but you got that's why I like Chickawaga or Cleveland, Maryville. They go right in the first part of the year. So at least the people in that area, they can see both Cleveland, Maryville and Chickawaga, Maryville. But anyway, number 1, number 2, in week 7 at West Seneca. If you wanna go to that game, you might wanna go to Connors for a fish fry beforehand across the street. I assume that game's at West this year. I might be jumping the gun.
I
Normally
believe
you switch
it's at
it. It
East.
is a switch normally.
If it's east, then you got a long walk from Connors parking lot to West Seneca. So-
Is the fish fry that good where it's worth
Oh,
the
yeah,
walk?
oh, yeah. oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you though, there'll be a lot of debate about those rankings, because Bennett's gonna have something to say whether
Oh, I'm
they
sure
should
they
be
will,
up there.
yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, if Orchard Park comes out with a win over Will North, has gotta be up there as another double A undefeated team. It'll be interesting to see what happens this week and how those rankings all play out, because there legitimately is, between the 2 West Senecas, between there's multiple teams that are legitimately competing for that number 1 top spot.
And Anthony, God, I guess I have to confess, Terry and I went for a garbage plate Sunday
Oh,
night.
you knew oh.
And, we figured the line would be, at dinner time you couldn't get near the place without an hour wait or something like that. So as long as we were going there, we stopped off at the, Irondequoit at Victor football game.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that Class A Far West Regional at Clarence, that is gonna be to die for. You got Irondequoit looks really good. Victor, if you could stop the run, I think you have a chance. If they have a passing attack, they didn't show it, but
Is that line still as big as it's always been? See, that's the thing. I mean, when you're talking about 300 pounders that you're gonna be going up
Victor?
against. Yeah,
They got this one kid, he's only a sophomore. He goes with his brother who's a senior, on recruiting visits, right? They get there, and the college don't even want to talk to the one that they're recruiting. They want to talk to the brother. I mean,
He's 6'9". The
This
brother
guy-
is 6'9", yeah.
this guy is almost as big as that young man that played at Lakeshore,
Brave Williams,
Oh, Brave.
Yes.
7 foot, 400
and he's
pounds.
a lot more agile,
Wow.
and he's only a sophomore.
Oh,
Yeah.
my. What are
Yes.
they feeding him?
Yes, they're huge.
not that we wanna project, but definitely, I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna be a clean sweep going with us this year over, against those Rochester teams. It's gonna be a tough year.
McQuaid's really,
There's a
really
lot of
good.
teams over
Aquinas is
Aquinas
always.
is no slouch. But
Wade,
Class
Victor,
A,
Arundel, I mean, you just named 4 of them right off the bat, and that's for double A and A, whoever comes out.
and don't count in,
Pittsburgh.
was it Rochester, Wilson, Rochester, or Rochester East, one of those two, I get
Yeah,
that mixed up.
Pittsburgh's another one, it's always.
Well, they're double A, Pittsburgh
Right,
double A is double
I
A.
just meant across the
Yeah.
board on both,
But the three I mentioned were just Class A going up against, will be West Seneca West, West Seneca East. I wouldn't count South Park or Star Point out, depending on the weather.
You mentioned Star Point.
I was just gonna go down that route, Tony.
Eric Chase, 6 TDs. Yeah, he's putting up some gaudy numbers. You still have to consider him maybe the front runner or neck and neck front runner for the Conley.
Well,
So,
I think some of the guys have caught up to him. I mean, the two running backs, Dolak and the young man from Pioneer. Oh, wow. And the thing I like about those two, they go both ways, and they're as good at linebacker as they are at running back.
You know, Eklund made a strong case last night.
Yeah.
Speaking of gaudy numbers, you have a few school records broken. Cole Snyder, 17 for 27, 340 yards, 5 TDs. He had 65 yards and a score on the ground. He broke the school record for most passing yards in a game for Southwestern. And then his receiver, Alex Card, broke two school records, most receiving yards in a game and most receiving touchdowns in a game, with 222 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Well, it doesn't surprise me with breaking the school passing record. They've been primarily a running team for as long as I could remember. In fact, wasn't it Southwestern that won a playoff game and I don't even think attempted a pass, Raj?
No, you're thinking of Randolph.
Oh, Randolph, okay, yeah. I mean, that's still.
Yeah, in fact, once, I guess in one game, Randolph, threw 3 passes. What? 3 passes in one game? I don't think they threw 3 passes the whole season beforehand. Cole, another thing I like about Cole Snyder, also a two-way player, as opposed to some of these other guys that only go on one side of the ball.
Is that gonna have a bearing though in Connolly when you look at coming down as whether they play offense and defense?
If they're an impact on
if they're,
both
they
sides of
made
the
an
ball.
impact in their stats to back it up, I think it
Okay.
absolutely will. But I'll tell you, let's get back to the Star Point scenario is, in the pregame, I said, this has gotta be a game that Star Point had to show, and they were gonna put points up on the board to show that the week before was a fluke versus East, that we can put numbers up on the board. You knew this was score that was gonna happen, and they came through and did it. I agree, I've been sitting here saying that Chase has been the front runner for weeks, I said it, but I do now agree, there's people that have made the case that it's actually
Made it a
that.
lot closer.
I think
Absolutely.
I personally like Reederman at this point.
I
The way
agree.
You had Cheektowaga, Maryville back to back, and he steamrolled them.
But I gotta tell you, Dolak's in this conversation now.
Sure.
too. I mean, what he's done has been unbelievable. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know all the stats with Bennett's running back there, but I'm gonna tell you, these guys are in the, how can you not look at somebody from Bennett right now for what they're doing?
Not
Yeah,
to
but
men-
aren't they by committee? Aren't there like 3 or 4 running backs at Bennett?
I think there's one leader though.
Yeah,
in
there
the
are 3 or 4. There are about 4 running backs, but there's definitely one leader, and he was the kid who had all those holding calls against him. And the committee members there saw that, and they saw, you know, if there weren't those holdings, he probably could have had a school record himself and ran for 400 yards. They noticed those things, and that makes a difference.
Totally agree. So, I mean, I think this is, and I said it, when I said it early on, is every year we have a front runner that comes out, and then every year here comes
The
the
pack
the
comes
pack
up at the
catches
end.
up. And we're absolutely seeing that. Cole Snyder's in this conversation too. How do we not consider Cole Snyder
Sure.
for what he's doing?
You know, I was looking back. I don't want to name names, but I think this might be a year. I think we're gonna. I don't think all those finalists are gonna return to the final 10. Because there's so many good players out there. I think somebody's gonna be left out.
There's no doubt. We said that earlier. We said there was probably 20 names early on before we started the season that could eventually be there. And again, I still think there's 20 stars that we're talking about all over that there's gonna be somebody missing out. In any of these conversations that we have when we talk about a top 10, we're never usually debating the front 8. We're always debating 9, 10 that gets there over what we think should be 9, 10. That's where the debate comes all the time on these.
Right.
Yeah.
And the same thing's gonna
Good
happen
point.
here.
Good point. You know, one thing that stood out about last night is the amount of blowouts. If it had been close, you know, there weren't as many up until this point. Just like, it seems like last night somebody hit a switch and like, all right, everybody play offense, let's go.
Yeah, there were a couple bad matchups this week. There
I
really
mean,
were.
I'm
When
looking
you
at the
look
score, 62, 62, let's see, 54, 50, 63. Some impressive scores.
No doubt. And listen, we said this. What did we say before the season even started? This is the year of the quarterback, right? We've said that. And you see quarterbacks, 6 touchdowns, Cole Snyder, school record, right? The Maryville game. Desiderio did real well in the Maryville game.
Didn't he have like
early on.
100 yards
Yeah,
after
100
like
yards
6
in the
passes?
first quarter, I think it was, right? It was. You're just talking about, you know, Clymer, Sherman, Panama when we were there, right? Hinsdale was another one who did real well today. Their quarterbacks are leading some of these things, and then you've got some of these rushing attacks to add into with the quarterback, and it's right there the recipe for points.
Boy, this is a lot of fun. I really love it. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll look at some of the games going on today and you know how it impacts playoff look. What is next week rivalry weekend or the week after?
Week
after.
Week after.
We
So,
we are in week 5 now. Week 7 is rivalry week.
and again, this goes by way too fast. Somebody please hit the brakes. Anyway, all right, we'll be back after this. Sports Talk Saturday follows us at 11 o'clock, WGR Sports Radio 550. Side High School sports, then Sports Talk Saturday takes the air at 11 o'clock. All right, guys, here's a question for you. What do Niagara Falls Junior Football Cobras and UB Bulls have in common?
They're both playing Army.
Both playing Army in Amherst today.
Thank God for Facebook.
Yes. I got to meet Tyree Jackson earlier this week. He was a guest on the WBEN morning show. All 6'7" of him. Oh my God, what a big man. And what a nice kid. And glad that he's representing the UB Bulls. So best of luck to UB today. And I think I like their chances better against Army than ours, but we'll give it a good try. We'll see what happens. So we're at the Northtown Center, probably at about the same time that they're wrapping up at UB Stadium. So Raj, if you go to the UB Army game, stop over across the street at the Northtown Center. You'll be able to find us easily. As we take on Army, our kickoff's at 5.
I still remember 2 years ago. Army loses to UB and then beats Navy. And it's the first time in how many years that Army beat Navy?
It was
I don't know.
after
Was that,
17 years, I
yeah,
think.
I was gonna say 15, right? But
It was a long, long streak. Speaking of long streaks, Canisius 10 in a row over St. Joe's.
That was a back and forth game. Actually, if you saw last night as the updates were coming in, Canisius goes out to an early lead, and then Joe's comes flying back and actually ties it up at one point. And
Didn't
no,
Joe's
Joe's
have
had
the
the
lead?
lead. Wait, Joe's had the lead. Then Canisius tied it back up, and then Canisius takes the lead for the win. I got a chance to cover Canisius when Canisius was playing McQuaid when McQuaid came in. I'm sorry, when Aquinas came in here to play them. And, you know, after talking to Coach, he said, we're very, very young. We're going to keep getting better and better as the season comes along. His line was a young line that was really looking to develop. And he was going against a line that we were considering the strength of St. Joe's, right? That was, we talked about 3 kids early on that were potential Trench Trophy candidates just from the
Couple
size.
guys already committed D1.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
Dottie. Doty.
so to me, you know, once you saw that line take effect for St. Joe's, you wondered if it was gonna finally them gonna be running, you know, starting to pull away from Canisius. Give Canisius credit. His young team has stood up and is probably their first local, you know, team that they were gonna go head to head with. Canisius comes out with a win. Gotta give them credit there. Rich Robbins deserves, you know, a credit for taking
No, our
them
staff
back.
does a great,
Yep.
great job. Nobody will ever question that. But 10 in a row in that long-standing rivalry, that's a pretty big stretch. If you say, and I'm sure that St. Joe's, they're not too happy about that. And of course, we still have a few more weeks to see where the seedings are going to be for Monsignor Martin. And, you know, all
St.
that
Francis will have a say in this.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
And speaking about St. Francis, they play Cathedral Prep tonight at 7 at St. Francis. So it'll give you a chance to go out there and check Franny's out.
Normally you would have probably half the Conley Cup committee at that game, you know, cause as Terry Smith schedules those Saturday night games when it's the only game in town. Tonight he might have a conflict because pretty good game, right down the road here, Chicktawaga, Lackawanna versus Chicktawaga.
That's
Yeah,
a big one,
yes.
sure.
They are not, it's a non-league game, but nonetheless, it's a huge barometer for the overall postseason. These two teams could end up playing each other in postseason as well. I'm debating whichever way the car goes between St. Francis and going to Chicktawaga, that's where I'll end up tonight.
Yes, I have Cardinal O'Hara taking on St. Mary's today. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff.
I saw O'Hara last week against St. Francis, and I was impressed by both teams. That's one of those where the score was actually a little farther than what the game was. O'Hara was keeping up with, offensively, they were able to keep up with St. Francis and able to score. They just had trouble defensively handling Jake Ritz, who's off to a great start this year, only a sophomore.
Another name who's got to be considered in that Conley Cup conversation. And in fact, if I'm correct, this is the week where we turn the switch on for the Conley Cup, and now we can see repeat people getting nominated at the Conley Cup level. Am I correct?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, the first 4 weeks is you can't get duplicated in the first 4 weeks, and then the 5th week you can start getting multiple nominations. So this is where we'll start seeing a couple of those, you know, front runners that we've been talking about here get their second nominations. like a Cole Snyder, like an Aaron Chase. You know, if Jake does something great tonight, you may see some now people's names come back to the forefront.
You know, you mentioned this, alluded to this game earlier, but it's a huge game this afternoon. Will North at Orchard Park, 1 o'clock.
I'll be there, no doubt. I mean, everybody knows I'll be covering the Orchard Park game. I'll be there doing some pre-game, halftime, and post-game results. Listen, I definitely think this is a barometer for Orchard Park. Orchard Park has something to prove in this game. Will North, coming off some big losses, also has something to prove. The question is, who's going to want it more, right? And Will North right now, you've got to say, is coming into this game real hungry. Orchard Park better be ready.
That's going to be a tremendous game. Let's see, Franklinville, Elkaville at Faulkner. I'll be all right. That's at 1:30 today.
Evil Frank's gotta win this game,
Yeah.
they may be on the outside looking in for the
Wow.
playoffs.
It's that competitive. It's let's see some of the other games going on. Wilson is at JFK. That's a 1:30 kickoff. Fredonia / Brockton is at Burgard. That's 1 o'clock. So Fredonia's a pretty decent team. So Burgard's going to have their hands full today, no question about it. Grand Island at Williamsville East. There's another night game for you.
That's a day game.
Oh, day game. I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah,
it was
1 o'clock.
7. My eyes are all So all right, tell me about this game. This is a game. both
Must
teams
win
need-
for Will East,
Yeah, must.
if they wanna make the playoffs, must win.
Must win, just because the way point differentials are gonna play out. Grand Island's coming off strong, you know, they had that week 1 big loss to Star Point, but so far they've taken care of business since then. So I look for, you know, I think Grand Island's getting better, I think they're gonna come away with this A2 division.
Yeah, again, another quarterback that we could be talking about who will put up numbers if given the chance to be able to throw the ball.
And you talk about linemen too. Grand Island's got a nice line. They do a great job blocking. You know, whenever you look at any matchups, you've got to start off looking at line play.
No doubt. In fact, it's been a theme, I think, all night. I was saying last night, line, not even at the game we were at, but talking about the lines. Look, we talked about St. Joe's versus Canisius. Line. I always believe it starts with the line. If your defensive line is going to gain that penetration, it's going to just make your life a lot easier. The same thing in the offensive line. You give that running game any holes, and it could be a long day for you.
And we were talking about that last night at Wheatfield, and it seemed like both teams are taking turns where the line would, you know, open up a gaping hole that the backs were able to go through, or sometimes on a QB keepers or anything like that. And I think that was definitely a big difference.
Tony, we should quickly mention, for those who have not heard, Maryville is no longer the host venue for the Cleveland Hill football team. The Cleveland Hill facility is ready. They will be playing their remaining home games and probably at least one playoff
Yeah,
game.
we had 2 o'clock today, they host Silver Creek at Cleveland Hill.
I'm sure there'll be a good turnout for that. By the way, congratulations to our friend Jonah Kozak, Buffalo News Player of the Year, soccer player for Frontiers.
Player of the week.
Player of the week, I'm sorry.
Hey, one last quick announcement. Take a look at Lockport with some of their new fields. They just released their new JV baseball field.
Gorgeous.
Unbelievable, state of the art. I'm hoping this is gonna help Lockport out tremendously. They say that piggybacking that will be the high school field. You'll see other fields to go. Could be one of the best complexes in Western New York for all sports here very shortly. Could be real big for Lockport. Congratulations, Lockport.
Yeah, outstanding. All right, that does it for us. I'm gonna kind of go home and start off watching the UB Army game, and then I'm gonna head over to Amherst and get ready for my game. So good luck to all participating this weekend. We'll talk to you next weekend with more Inside High School Sports.